Morning, good afternoon, good night, whenever you are watching this, my friends. Welcome to Mentor Mornings, where I share wisdom from people far wiser than myself to help you own your day and fuel your journey. So today, my friends, we hear all kinds of labels. The left, the right, conservative, liberal, Republican, Democrat, capitalist, socialist, up, down, black, white, employee, businessman, whatever. Labels, they are everywhere. The purpose of having a label or having a tribe, when we were a primitive species, we needed a group of people to help us stay alive, to help perpetuate the growth of our youth, to help provide food and safety and security. That was part of what we needed to survive. And if we were cast out of that tribe in these primitive days, then it meant almost certain death. And so biologically, physiologically, we are programmed to be part of a tribe of something. And today, we see very clear lines of where our tribes are. If you support Trump, there are very clear lines of what you believe and what you don't believe. And if you don't fall into that camp, you are not part of that camp. If you are somebody who supports Biden, there are very clear lines of what you can and cannot believe, where you can and cannot go with your mind, what you can and cannot say. Because if you venture outside of that accepted place, suddenly you are not part of that tribe anymore. You are an enemy to that tribe. You think counter. And so, Lyndon B. Johnson says, the world has narrowed to a neighborhood before it has broadened to a brotherhood. We have narrowed. We see these labels everywhere. And the real question is, who benefits from our labels? Who is it that benefits by us having our labels or our tribes that we all belong to? You know, when we allow ourselves to be pulled into a tribe, into a label, into a box, we find ourselves that, like, some people feel safe inside of a box because their limits are very clearly defined. And the unknown is something that is uncomfortable because it's unknown. Sometimes that's scary. And so when we have a box, we don't have to venture into that unknown. When we have a label, we don't have to think about that unknown, that other side, because it's outside of our boundary lines of the permitted way of thinking. Wayne Dyer says, my purpose is to help people look at themselves and begin to shift their concepts. Remember, we are not our country, our race, our religion. We are eternal spirits. Seeing ourselves as spiritual beings without label is a way to transform the world and reach a sacred place for all of humanity. By the way, guys, if you appreciate this video, could you please hit the thumbs up button, let people know it's worth watching, share if you feel like this is important information, and subscribe, my friends, if you have not already. Labels define and limit us from becoming more. They limit our ability to think. The reason is that labels work on a very deep level psychologically with how we see our identity. If a person wants to shift a subconscious belief, a subconscious behavior, a subconscious reaction, then they first need to work with the layer of identity. When we accept a label, when we fit into this camp of labels, suddenly we are creating and we are putting into a box our identity. And when we have an identity, it shifts how we react, it shifts how we act, it changes our actions. When we have our identity, oil does not mix with water. And so if you are classified as oil, if you give yourself that identity, you don't go over to water. And this is powerful, because our ability for free thinking comes from our willingness to explore the opposites. Like Charlie Munger says, you know, the law of opposites, being able to go to the other side, that is what creates powerful thinking, logical, rational thinking. Eckhart Tolle says, the answer is, who you are cannot be defined through thinking or mental labels or definitions, because it's beyond that. It's the very sense of being or presence that is there when you become conscious of the present moment. In essence, you and what we call the present moment are at the deepest level one. So while we are clearly at war in America, and the global upheaval is biblical, our end goals, humanity's end goals, where we all stand individually, our end goals are extremely similar. We really all want the same thing. It's just, how do we get there? We all see that we're aiming in we don't see it, but we are all aiming in a very similar direction, and that's that we want liberty, prosperity, abundance, and opportunity. What else is there to life than experiencing life freely with opportunity? And so who is it that stands in the way of these qualities of life? Who is it that stands in the way of liberty, prosperity, abundance, and opportunity? Because if we can identify who it is that's standing in the way of these very similar goals that we all have at a very core level, suddenly our enemies become apparent. If we can stand outside of our labels, shed that, and stand in our individuality, our eternal soul, our spirit, our enemies become clear. Thomas Jefferson said, when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitled them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to separation. The causes which impel them to separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And so today, my friends, I invite you to shed all labels and to be a citizen of the world. Thank you so much for watching Mentor Mornings. If you appreciate this, please hit that thumbs up button. I will see you tomorrow on Mentor Mornings. Until then, my friends, rise unconquered.